So it's been quite a while since we've talked about the Overwatch World Cup. Yes, we're talking about Overwatch today. We're talking about the Overwatch World Cup and the 2023 Overwatch World Cup that got announced a little while ago. We have not seen an Overwatch World Cup since 2019. United States won that one. And, well, it's been a bit of a drought of international competition that's not the Overwatch League or contenders, right? And I don't know whether we call them totally international, considering most of the Overwatch League is American. And, well, in fact, actually, the Overwatch League now has even less representation from Europe now, but hey, that's a different video, which may be coming soon. Subscribe, hit the bell if you want to see that one coming up. Anyway, Overwatch World Cup 2023. It's very different to any World Cup that's been planned before, and it's courted some controversy, and it's very different. People are going to have their ups and downs about it, and they're going to have their moans about it, because this is the Overwatch community and Overwatch Esports, and, well, if there's anything I know about that community, it tends to be quite a lively one with its opinions. Anyway, so, it is January, and they've announced this plan. They've announced 36 countries divided into 3 regions to compete in the 2023 Overwatch World Cup. A lot of countries, not gonna lie. The timeline goes like this. So they announced it in January. In February, you'll get the trials for the teams and the committee announcements. In March, you'll get the tryouts, the proper tryouts for the international teams, and then the teams will be selected by their respective committees. In June, you will have those 36 teams compete in World Cup qualifiers, which will be taking place online to determine the top 16 teams, which will go to the group stage that will compete on LAN in a round robin group stage. And then the top 8 teams, this is going to happen in the fall of 2023, the top 16 teams will compete in that round robin to determine top 8 teams to go through to a single elimination bracket to determine the medalists and the Overwatch World Cup, or the Overwatch World Champion for 2023. This is going to be running alongside the Overwatch League 2023, I would presume. So that's a bold move. I would like to know exactly how that's going to work. I can imagine that's going to make for some busy scheduling if you want some of the Overwatch League players to be featuring in this Overwatch World Cup. But hey, we'll see how that works. Could have benefits to some countries and adverse effects to others. Anyway, there is a lot of opportunity in the Overwatch World Cup. There always has been. You can try and get into trials no matter where you are. Doesn't matter if you're an Overwatch League player or a ranked grinder. You can try all the same. And I think that's the beauty of the openness of the Overwatch World Cup. However, things have slightly changed. Things at the moment are a little bit complicated for Overwatch. It just got shut down in China because a deal between NetEase, the distributor of Blizzard games, I believe, in China, and Blizzard itself, the deal broke down, so no longer can you access Blizzard games in China properly. Which, of course, not only covers Overwatch, but WoW and all those others. But China has a very big presence in Overwatch. We've seen the Chinese international team do very well at previous World Cups, and you see China's influence in the Overwatch League with teams like Hangzhou Spark and Guangzhou Charge, Shanghai Dragons, not so much. They're kind of half and half, if you see what I mean. They might be under the guise of Shanghai, but they have a lot of Korean influence. But you've got those teams, obviously, and Valiant is another one as well. So there's a lot of issues there that have to be ironed out, because obviously at the moment, not accessible. They can't access the game in China. So this brings us on to the 36 teams for these online qualifiers. And they said that the program will consist of 3 conferences, each with 2 separate groups of 6 countries and regions. These countries and regions have been selected based on Overwatch 2 population data. In February, competition committee and applications will begin. Additionally, each participating country and region will host World Cup trials over 3 weekends in February, 10th to the 12th, 17th to the 19th, and 24th to the 26th. And I don't know why I have so much trouble saying that. Anyway, they will finalise a team of 7 players in April. So, okay, in addition to the 36 selected countries and regions, the 2023 Overwatch World Cup will have a wildcard challenge that will award 4 additional spots for teams to compete. Details around the Wildcard Challenge will be published in February. This is a very important detail. They go on to talk about China. Given the current dynamics in China and what a team from China has always performed very well, there will be no World Cup trials in China, but a team from China will receive a direct invitation to the group stage of this competition. So China will have representation in the Overwatch World Cup. How good that team will be and who will be on that team, who knows? And who knows what the dynamics in China are going to have an effect on outside of the World Cup in the Overwatch League. Anyway, there's a lot of grey area to clear up there. Anyway, so these are your teams. Your two, I don't know, groups in America. America A, Canada, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and United States. America B, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. So essentially there you've got North America and South America in a kind of way. In the Europe and Middle East Conference, EMEC, EMEC A is Belgium, France, Great Britain, Italy, Netherlands, and Spain. And in the B group will be Germany, Norway, Poland, Saudi Arabia, Sweden, and Turkey. In the Asia Pacific Conference, this is obviously minus China, APAC. So, A, Chinese Taipei, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, and South Korea. And APAC B will be Australia, India, Malaysia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Thailand. So, the inevitability, the controversy has been surrounding the fact that there are some teams excluded from this that people see as very good teams. I suppose one of them you could see as being Denmark for EU, for example, with very good players like Shax, etc. And they have not been included on this. Whereas you have got perhaps some other teams that are not as well known for their higher profile players. And that I've worded that very specifically because they are not known for high profile players, maybe. Name an Overwatch League player from Turkey, for example. If I was to name the teams in the EU with the most high profile players, you think of France. You think of Norway. Norway have got some decent players. Germany have had some decent players in the past, but they still got Haddy and people like that from London Spitfire. Great Britain would probably be one of them as well. Sweden have had a good past. Saudi Arabia, fairly good in contenders. But you don't normally scream names like Turkey. Or even Spain at this point. Name some high-profile Spanish players. We don't really have them too much now. But you can name a few from Denmark or places like that. This is what the wild card is for, I think. And I think we have to give that time to see how that works out. I don't know how that works, whether that's one for each region or whatever. I don't know how they're going to balance that out. And yes, people are going to say, how can you include places like maybe Indonesia or something like that who are not particularly well known for Overwatch Esports and exclude certain other places? And the thing is, you have to look at it in the fact that they have to balance this out. They have made 3 regions and they have to give them the same amount of teams. They want to make this fair. Some regions may be stronger than others. That has always been the case with games in general. And therefore, you will get some slightly weaker teams from certain regions that may not be as good as some teams that were excluded from another region because that region was just more competitive. EU, when competing against each other, is really competitive. It always kind of has been. When you look at America, it isn't. You've got the US who are on top. You've probably got Canada who are second, and then maybe you've got a few people like Brazil who might fight it out, and that's it. This again, you've got dominance in APAC between South Korea and China usually, although China aren't going to feature in this, and then you've got the people chasing up behind like Japan and Australia, and then people behind that. EU tends to be quite competitive in that respect, so you're probably going to see maybe a couple of countries left out that would entirely deserve to be ahead and would be quite easily people from other regions but not feature at the World Cup because of that region divide. And that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, as brutal as that may sound. That is the way it is. And that goes for literally every single sport in the world, including soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, and other sports like that. there are teams in Europe, in soccer or football, that would paste teams from other regions, but they don't make it to a World Cup, and those other teams do. Simple as that. That's the way it is. It's just fair representation from across the globe. That's just why it's a World Cup. Otherwise, you couldn't call it a World Cup, because it would be EU with the US, Canada, China, South Korea, maybe Japan. That's it. So it wouldn't be a fair representation. With the team from China securing one of the 16 spots advancing to the groups, this is a distribution of the remaining 15 spots that will be competed for in the online qualifiers. So 3 spots go to the America A group, 3 spots go to the EMECA group. God, that's complicated. APAC A gets 3 spots, and then all the B groups get 2 spots. So they've clearly made this as the A's are the stronger groups of teams, and B is the weaker group of teams. Interesting, not gonna lie. If I was going to really put it like that, then I would say like Norway would be in EMECA maybe instead of Spain, but you know, it's difficult because they're basing this on player population base, and that's something we'll come across in a minute. I'm not going to go over competition committees and the applications for that, because you can all find that on the website and all stuff. You don't need me to go through that. But when we come to this whole thing of basing it on player population base, it is, in my opinion, unfair to base it on the amount of well-known / pro players from that scene. That is what the Overwatch League is for. That finds your pro players. As much as the Overwatch League has its issues right now, which we will go over in another video, that is where that happens. This is representation for all. And that, as I said earlier in the video, goes right from your pro players all the way down to your ranked grinders. And so, in logical thinking, if the player population base is bigger, there is more chance of finding some real gems on the rank ladder or something that may not have been picked up by pro teams yet, or contenders teams, or they might not have wanted to, but will want to compete in this, and stuff like that. And so I think the way they're doing it is not wholly and solely unfair, even though people might disagree with me on that. So give this new format a chance is what I would say. I am very interested to see how the wildcard works. I think that's a very good addition, especially for something like the EU region, which can tend to be very competitive. And I think it's just a good thing we're seeing the Overwatch World Cup back. I think the Overwatch World Cup has always been a great occasion, and it's been a big missing part of the Overwatch esports scene for quite a while now. And it's funneled so much into the Overwatch League, and the Overwatch League has got a lot of problems, and I think we need a big time competition that rivals the Overwatch League, takes concentration away from the Overwatch League to a certain extent. And that's what the Overwatch World Cup will do, because Contenders certainly doesn't do that, because Blizzard does not support it enough. Simple as that. So, yes, I will be covering the Overwatch World Cup 2023 as much as I can later in the year, as things start to iron themselves out. Of course, it won't be that early, because you've got a lot of committee stuff to sort out first, before we even know who's going to be on teams and stuff like that. It's going to be very different. A lot of new players since the last World Cup, a lot of different look teams, and my goodness me, it could be a very interesting one. Who knows who is on top at the moment, and I just hope it's spicy. That's all I'm concerned about. Anyway, I will leave it here for this one. This has been a longer video than I expected, but I wanted to go over this because I know it's been hanging around the Overwatch esports team for a little bit now. There is another concern of mine of people's that is also hanging around the Overwatch esports scene that we were talking about in a little bit in a different video. But that will be it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the Overwatch content. I hope you're also enjoying the Valorant content coming up on the channel as well. If you have not, check it all out on the channel, montages and other videos as such. Also, keep up to date with the shorts that are coming out of my Valorant gameplay, as paper as it might be. That also going up on my TikTok, my Instagram, and also keep up to date on the Twitters as well, which I tend to talk about some stuff sometimes, or just completely random things, and you get an insight into me more personally anyway. That's going to be it from me. Thank you for joining for this one. Bye-bye.